There's been discussion building over the last day or so about Nancy Pelosi taking a trip to Taiwan. And the reason why it caused so much controversy is a major U.S. leader going to Taiwan is a level of legitimizing Taiwan in the eyes of China that China very much doesn't like. And so China spoke out, said, if this happens, we hear speculation that Nancy Pelosi is thinking about it, we might act militarily, is what they said. And we would condemn that, and we absolutely don't want her to visit Taiwan. So just within the last few hours, she landed in Taiwan. They had a big welcome for her, and they're very excited about the fact that she is there. And China has begun doing military exercises to show that they're unhappy with this. I don't think there's going to be any strike or anything like that on Nancy Pelosi or Taiwan at this time. Obviously, that would be just a massive escalation to threaten a U.S. leader. But they're trying to show through these military exercises that they're upset and that they condemn this heavily. So with that being said, there was a breakdown on PBS, I think, that I caught and just really thought it effectively went through all of the series of events and gave some imagery for it. So we will check that out and then continue to discuss all of the details.
The Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives, Nancy Pelosi, is in Taiwan tonight, and China is already responding. Pelosi's late-night landing was quickly followed by news of Chinese military drills all around the island. John Yang has this report.
The stars and stripes aglow on the tail of her plane. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi arrived in Taipei just before 11 p.m. local time. Taiwan welcomed her with a message displayed on its highest skyscraper. Outside her hotel, dozens of people awaited her arrival, some to salute the visit, like 29-year-old finance worker Simon Lin.
Thank you, U.S. Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi, for ignoring China's threats.
Others.
And as I said before, but just to emphasize, as he kind of did there, she made this decision and after knowing that they were upset by it. So, of course, she could have predicted they would be upset, but then they said, before she landed, do not do that, and she still did it, which is very fascinating.
To protest it. The trip has drawn the ire of Beijing, which considers Taiwan a breakaway province and sees Pelosi's stop as a threat to Chinese sovereignty. Today, a Chinese foreign ministry spokesman repeated threats of military action.
If the U.S. is bent on going its own way, China will take resolute and strong measures to safeguard China's sovereignty and security interests.
Across the 100-mile-wide Taiwan Strait, it's a battle of drills. As soon as Pelosi arrived, China announced the beginning of air and sea military exercises around the island. Ahead of the visit, China put its military on high alert and flew fighter jets close to Taiwan. This past weekend, the People's Liberation Army conducted live fire exercises and released a highly produced video showing off its ability to defend the mainland.
So this is highly, highly provocative. Doing all of this kind of showmanship to emphasize the point that China has the ability to defend themselves. Come on, as if there's any threat from the United States or Taiwan to China is silly, but militarily, but they're really trying to make a point and make a very public show of their distaste for the actions of, in this case, Nancy Pelosi, but the United States more broadly and Taiwan.
Taiwan responded with its own set of military exercises. But today, the official websites of Taiwan's presidential office and foreign ministry were both hacked. Amid threats of escalation, the United States has deployed 4 warships to waters east of Taiwan. U.S. officials maintain the speaker's trip is a routine congressional visit. Officially, the United States recognizes one China and has no diplomatic relations with Taiwan. But U.S. law commits the United States to help Taiwan defend itself. In a statement after her arrival, Pelosi, a longtime critic of Beijing, called the visit one of several congressional delegations to Taiwan, and it in no way contradicts long-standing United States policy.
So really, really interesting. I know that was a longer clip than I usually like to play, but they just flew through in a nice series of clips and explanations about everything that's relevant to this discussion. So first off, just recognizing that the situation between the United States, Taiwan, and and China is so different and so weird than many other situations we could compare it to, because we don't officially recognize Taiwan as its own state. We don't. But then we do say we will defend Taiwan from Chinese aggression. And it's just kind of like, wait, what? But we don't actually, right? And then we also support Taiwan in their endeavors in some, foreign policy groups and pursuits and stuff like that, which is a little bit of a recognition that they're their own entity and are governing themselves, which is what is happening, but we don't officially recognize them for probably many reasons, but primarily because it would make China incredibly angry, because they want to pretend that Taiwan is fully theirs, just like every other part of China, and don't like the idea of a nation such as the United States recognizing Taiwan as its own state. So that by itself is just a weird dynamic. So then because of that, the idea that a Speaker of the House would go visit Taiwan when she acts like it's a routine visit, but a Speaker of the United States House hasn't visited Taiwan in 25 years. So it's definitely not routine. And they spoke out against it very aggressively before she even landed. So pretending like, hey, it's no biggie is silly, even though you can definitely make an argument for why she shouldn't back down to China's threats. I think pretending that she doesn't understand, or she isn't doing this with the knowing that it is a big sign to the world, and then specifically to China, is a little silly. But also this is very kind of choreographed, it seems, because right when she landed, right before she landed, I think, but around the same time, an op-ed dropped where she's addressing the issue of Taiwan and criticizing China and all of these things. So kind of a big move by Nancy Pelosi. And I'm going to be honest, I really don't understand why she felt like she needed to do this right now, why this was so important. I'm sure maybe she'll give more context after it's over, or we'll hear some analysis that'll kind of bring to surface some ideas that could be in the head of Nancy Pelosi and her team. But as of now, it just seems like a whole lot of stress and a whole lot of, public controversy for what? Like, what are we doing here? It could just be to show that she supports Taiwan in their own right, but which is a worthy cause on Nancy Pelosi's part, but still just seems very, very interesting and very provocative. Last thing on this is just kind of a random detail. 25 Senate Republicans signed on to a letter to Nancy Pelosi supporting her in this trip and supporting her not backing down to the threats from the Chinese government, which was a fascinating move as well. So let me know what you think about this in the comments. Interesting stuff. Nancy Pelosi trying to be bold and causing a lot of stress on the world stage.